Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're going to be cracking open Allan Kardec's The Spirits book.
Oh, cool.
Now you might be thinking, spirits? Is this a ghost story?
Yeah.
Well, not exactly. Kardec used mediums to communicate with spirits, asking questions and receiving. Let's just say some interesting answers.
Interesting.
We're going to be focusing on Part 3, Chapter 1.
Okay.
Divine or natural law. Think of it like a cosmic FAQ about how the universe works, both physically and morally.
Right.
What I find so compelling is how Kardec structured this chapter. He lays out a series of questions about God's law, what it is, how it works, how we learn it, and then presents the spirit's responses.
Yeah.
It's like eavesdropping on a conversation between a curious human and beings with a very different perspective. Okay, so let's unpack this divine or natural law. What do the spirits have to say about what it actually is?
They define it as God's law, the ultimate blueprint for happiness, if you will. It's the path to reaching your fullest potential. And here's where it gets really thought-provoking. They emphasize that this law is eternal and unchanging. Unlike our human laws,
Right.
which, as we all know, are constantly being updated and debated,
Yeah.
God's law is constant, a bedrock principle of the universe.
So it's like the ultimate rule book, but one that's written in invisible ink. How are we supposed to learn this law if it's so well divine?
The Spirit's answer is fascinating. They claim it's written within each of us, on our conscience. It's like a compass that points us towards what's right.
But if it's already inside us, why do we need prophets or religious teachings? Why isn't everyone just walking around perfectly in tune with this law?
That's a great question. And here's where the Spirits get really practical. They acknowledge that we can lose sight of our conscience. It can get clouded by our desires, fears, or even just the busyness of life. Prophets like Jesus, they say, act as reminders, helping us realign ourselves with that inner compass.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we know who to trust? There have been a lot of self-proclaimed prophets throughout history. How do we tell the real deal from the fakes?
The Spirits offer a surprisingly simple test. Look at their actions. Do their lives reflect the values they preach? Is there consistency between their words and their deeds?
So it's not just about what they say, but how they live. Actions speak louder than words, even for prophets. That's a good reminder for all of us, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in lofty ideas and philosophies, but ultimately it's our actions that reveal our true alignment with natural law.
Now, the spirits specifically pointed to Jesus as the model for humanity.
Yeah.
They call his teachings the purest expression of God's law. What do you think they meant by that?
Well, they saw Jesus as embodying the essence of love, compassion and selflessness. These qualities, they believe, are at the heart of natural law.
But weren't there people who grasped concepts of good and evil even before Jesus came along?
Of course. The Spirits acknowledge that people have always had an innate sense of right and wrong.
Right.
Think about all the philosophers and spiritual leaders throughout history who, through reason and observation, came to similar conclusions about how we should treat each other.
So it sounds like Jesus' teachings built upon this existing foundation, clarifying and expanding upon these universal truths.
Exactly. And the Spirits saw their role as helping humanity understand these truths even more deeply and apply them in practical ways. They were essentially preparing the way for what Jesus called the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
A world where love and justice prevail.
So let's dive into this idea of good versus evil.
Yeah.
How did the spirits define these concepts? Was it as simple as good guys and bad guys?
It was actually very straightforward. Good aligns with God's law and evil deviates from it. But here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
They emphasize the role of free will. We have the power to choose our actions, and those choices determine whether we're moving towards good or straying towards evil.
Okay, so it's not a predetermined destiny.
Nope.
We actually have a say in the matter.
Precisely. We're not puppets on strings. Every decision, every action is an opportunity to exercise our free will and align ourselves with natural law.
But if this law is all about goodness and happiness, why is there so much suffering and evil in the world? That's a question that's plagued philosophers for centuries.
The Spirits offered a thought-provoking perspective on this. They claimed that evil actually serves a purpose. It helps us understand good.
Okay.
Just as we wouldn't fully appreciate light without experiencing darkness, we wouldn't fully grasp the value of goodness without experiencing its opposite.
So evil is like the shadow that defines the light of good.
That's a really insightful way to put it. It highlights the idea that contrast is essential for learning and growth. The Spirits believed that through our struggles and challenges, we develop strength, wisdom, and compassion.
That makes sense. But what about the degree of responsibility for evil? Is everyone equally culpable?
The Spirits were very clear that responsibility is relative. They said our level of awareness and intent matter a great deal.
Yeah.
For example, someone who acts out of ignorance or desperation is less culpable than someone who knowingly and intentionally chooses to harm others.
So intention plays a key role in determining the severity of an action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They emphasize that even when we make mistakes, even when we fall short of our ideals, if our intention is to do good, if we're genuinely striving to align ourselves with natural law, that counts for something.
That's a really reassuring thought, especially for those of us who, let's face it, don't always get it right.
Yeah. It's fascinating how the spirits delved into the complexities of evil, acknowledging situations where someone might feel forced into wrongdoing.
Right, like those classic dilemmas where it seems like there's no good choice.
Right?
What if you're trapped in a situation where it's almost impossible to follow this natural law?
They address this directly.
Okay.
They argue that as souls evolve through multiple lifetimes, the need to choose evil lessens. It's like we gain a wider perspective, more options, and we're less driven by base instincts or pressured by circumstances.
So it's not about being perfect in every moment, but about growing over time. We're all works in progress, I guess. But what about those situations where someone is misled into wrongdoing? Like they're not the mastermind, but they get caught up in someone else's scheme.
The spirits were very clear on this.
Okay.
They said the ultimate responsibility lies with the person who initiates the harmful act. However, those who participate, even if they were deceived, still bear some responsibility for their choices.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like even if you're following orders, you still have a choice about whether to participate.
Yeah.
You have to own your part in it.
Yeah.
But what about the flip side of that? What if you're in an environment where it's really hard to do good? Like everyone around you is engaging in negative or harmful behavior.
This is where I find their response incredibly empowering. They reassure us that there's always an opportunity to do good, no matter the circumstances.
Okay.
The real obstacle, they say, is selfishness.
Okay.
When we're consumed with our own needs and desires, we become blind to the needs of others.
It's like that saying, you can be a drop of fresh water in a salty sea. Even a small act of kindness can make a difference.
Exactly. And they even give a very specific example. Sharing a single piece of bread, even when you have very little yourself, is an act of goodness that's valued by God.
It's a beautiful reminder that doing good isn't about grand gestures or saving the world. It's about those everyday acts of kindness and generosity.
Right. It's about being helpful and kind in our daily interactions, considering the needs of others, and extending compassion even when it's challenging.
Okay, so we've talked about how to recognize good and evil, and the importance of making choices that align with natural law. But this law covers all aspects of life.
Right.
Is there a way to sum it up in a single principle, like a natural law in a nutshell version?
Kardec asked this very question. And while the spirits agreed that the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, captures the essence, they also recognize that life is complex.
Yeah.
We need more specific guidance to navigate all the different situations we face.
So be nice is a good starting point, but it's not the whole story.
Exactly. They actually presented a 10-part division of natural law, covering everything from our relationship with God, worship, to our responsibilities to ourselves and others, labor, preservation, reproduction. And these aren't just abstract concepts. They have very real applications in our daily lives.
I bet those last few parts get to the heart of how we treat each other.
You're right. The final 3 laws, justice, love, and charity, were seen as the highest expression of natural law. They represent the qualities that lead to genuine happiness and spiritual growth.
Oh, okay. So justice, love, and charity. These are pretty big concepts. What exactly did the spirits have to say about them?
Well, they saw justice as the foundation for a harmonious society. It's about treating others with fairness and equity, recognizing their inherent dignity and worth.
Yeah.
It's about ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to fulfill their potential and live a meaningful life.
So it's not just about following the rules or avoiding punishment, but about creating a society where everyone has a fair chance.
Exactly. It's about fighting for equality, speaking out against injustice, and upholding the rights of all, even those we may disagree with.
And what about love? That's a word that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But what did the spirits say about what it really means to love?
They defined love as the most powerful force in the universe. They saw it as the energy that connects us all, the driving force behind creation itself.
Wow, that's a pretty big claim. But how does that translate into our everyday lives? What does it mean to love in a practical sense?
They emphasize that true love is selfless and unconditional. It's not about what we can get from others, but about what we can give.
So it's not just about romantic love or the love between family members. It's about extending that same care and compassion to everyone we encounter.
Precisely. They saw love as the antidote to selfishness, the force that dissolves barriers and unites us in our common humanity.
That makes me think of the quote by the Dalai Lama. Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Seems like the spirits would agree with that sentiment.
Absolutely. They believed that love is the key to creating a more peaceful and harmonious world.
But how do we cultivate that kind of universal love? It can be hard enough to love the people closest to us, let alone strangers or even those who have wronged us.
They acknowledged that it's a journey, not a destination. They advised us to start by practicing kindness and compassion in our daily lives, even in small ways.
Like holding the door for someone offering a helping hand, or simply listening with an open heart.
Exactly. These seemingly small acts can ripple outwards, creating a more loving and caring world.
And what about charity? I often think of it as donating money or volunteering our time, which are both important.
Yeah.
But is that all there is to it?
The spirits saw charity as the outward expression of love. It's about putting our love into action by helping those in need.
So it's not just about giving material things, but about offering whatever we can to ease suffering and promote well-being.
Precisely. Charity can take many forms. A kind word, a listening ear, a helping hand. It's about meeting people where they are and offering support without judgment.
That reminds me of the story in the Bible about the Good Samaritan. He didn't just walk by the injured man. He stopped to help, even though the man was a stranger and from a different social group.
That's a perfect example. True charity transcends social barriers and extends to all who are in need.
So it sounds like justice, love, and charity are all interconnected. Justice creates a foundation of fairness. Love motivates us to act with compassion. And charity is the way we put that love into action.
That's a great summary. The spirits saw these three laws as the culmination of natural law, the qualities that lead to true happiness and spiritual fulfillment.
It's interesting to think about how these principles, which were revealed through spirit communication over 150 years ago, are still so relevant today. We're still grappling with issues of justice, love, and charity in our world.
Absolutely. And the insights from the spirits provide a timeless framework for understanding these complex issues and navigating the challenges of human existence.
Okay, I'm eager to explore this further. What else did the spirits have to say about how we can apply these laws in our everyday lives? Okay, so we've explored these profound concepts, justice, love, and charity, the cornerstones of natural law. But I'm curious, what did the spirits have to say about putting these principles into action? How can we navigate those everyday situations where the right choice isn't always so obvious?
Right. Well, they offered some incredibly practical advice, and a lot of it comes down to cultivating self-awareness and focusing on our intentions.
Okay.
They stress that every choice, even those seemingly insignificant decisions we make throughout the day, has a ripple effect.
Yep.
Our actions impact not just ourselves, but also the world around us.
So it's not about waiting for those big heroic moments, but about being mindful in even the most mundane situations.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those everyday interactions, how we treat the cashier at the grocery store,
Right.
how we respond to a frustrating email, even how we talk to ourselves in our own minds as opportunities to practice these principles.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective. But what about those times when our emotions are running high? Let's be honest. It's much harder to choose kindness when we're stressed, angry, or just having a bad day.
That's where the emphasis on intention comes in.
Okay.
The spirits acknowledge that we won't always get it right. We're human after all. But they said that even when we make mistakes,
Right.
even when we fall short, if our intention is to do good,
Yeah.
if we're genuinely striving to align ourselves with natural law, that effort holds immense value.
So it's about that inner compass,
Yeah.
that striving to align our actions with our values,
Yeah,
even when we stumble along the way.
exactly. They saw life as an ongoing journey of growth and learning, a process of gradually becoming more and more aligned with natural law.
Okay.
And they emphasize the importance of forgiveness,
Right.
both forgiving ourselves when we mess up and forgiving others when they hurt us.
Forgiveness can be tough, but it makes sense. Holding on to anger and resentment only creates more negativity. It's like a poison that blocks us from moving forward. But what about those situations where people are intentionally causing harm? How does natural law apply when dealing with, let's say, people who aren't exactly playing by the rules of kindness and compassion?
That's a challenging question. The spirits acknowledge that there will always be individuals who choose a path that deviates from natural law, who engage in actions that cause pain and suffering. But they cautioned against meeting negativity with more negativity, against responding to hate with hatred.
So it's not about turning a blind eye to injustice, but about finding a way to address it without becoming consumed by anger and resentment ourselves.
Exactly. They encouraged us to focus on protecting ourselves and others, setting healthy boundaries, and taking action to prevent harm. But at the same time, they urged us to hold on to the belief that even those who seem lost can eventually find their way back to a path of goodness.
That takes a lot of faith, especially when we see so much darkness and suffering in the world. It can be hard to believe in redemption when faced with truly horrific acts.
It's definitely a challenge. The spirits acknowledge the apparent randomness of life, the seeming injustices that can leave us feeling confused and disillusioned. But they reminded us that we're only seeing a small piece of the puzzle.
It's like we're reading one page out of a 1,000-page book.
Exactly. There are spiritual laws at work that we may not fully grasp a bigger picture that unfolds over lifetimes. What may appear to be unfair or unjust from our limited perspective could actually be part of a larger plan for soul growth and evolution.
So it's about trusting in that bigger picture, even when we can't see it.
That's what the spirits seem to be suggesting. And they emphasize that even in the darkest of times, amidst the most profound suffering, there is always hope. Love and compassion are the most powerful forces in the universe, capable of transforming even the deepest darkness.
That's a beautiful reminder, and a much-needed one in the world we live in today. But if someone listening to this deep dive is feeling inspired to live more in alignment with natural law, where do they even begin? What specific advice did the spirits offer?
They emphasize the importance of self-reflection, of taking time to connect with that inner voice of conscience.
Okay.
They suggested practices like prayer and meditation as ways to strengthen our connection to our higher selves and to the divine.
So it's about cultivating that inner awareness,
Yeah.
that sense of what feels right and true, and then making choices that align with those values.
Precisely. And they reassured us that we're not alone in this journey. We have the support of our spiritual guides, our loved ones who have passed on, and the divine intelligence that flows through all of creation.
That's a comforting thought. So as we wrap up this deep dive into natural law, what's the one takeaway you hope our listeners hold on to?
I hope they feel empowered to live a life guided by their highest values, to be a force for good in the world. And I hope they remember that even amidst challenges and setbacks, there is always hope. There is always love, and there is always a path back to the light.
That's a beautiful message to end on. And for all of you listening, we encourage you to reflect on this. If natural law truly is inscribed on our conscience, what steps can you take today to become more attuned to its whispers? What small act of kindness or generosity can you offer to make the world a little bit brighter? Keep exploring these concepts. Let the wisdom of the spirits inspire you to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.